All right, so now we're going to perform some actual dilations. There are a couple of ways to do a dilation from the origin. An easy way to do a dilation from the origin, and this only works from the origin of the graph, is we take our scale factor, which is 2, and we multiply both our x and y of our c by 2 to get our c prime. So c prime would be 1 times my scale factor of 2, and then 3 times my scale factor of 2. So c prime comes out to be 2, 6. And then we can graph that. Now, this only, again, works when our center of dilation is from the origin. So let's go over what we do if it's not from the origin. And you can choose which method you like best for when we're dealing with the center of dilation at the origin. So what we do is we look at the slope, the rise over the run from the center of dilation to point C. My rise is 3. My run is 1. What I do is I multiply my rise and my run by, I multiply both my rise and my run by 2. So my slope was 3 over 1 between O and C. And then what I do to find C prime is I multiply both my rise and my run by 2 to get a new slope of 6 over 2, and I do not reduce that slope. And what I do is from my center of dilation, I go up 6 and over 2 to get my new point, which is exactly what we ended up with when we took our scale factor and multiplied it by C to get C prime. All right, so we'll be doing more of this in the next video, but since all of these are from the origin, let's go ahead and let's just continue taking our x and y value of each point and multiplying it by the scale factor. So for A, I'm going to take my x value of 6 and I'm going to multiply it by my scale factor of 1/2. Again, the only reason I can do that is because my center of dilation is the origin. And then I'm going to take my -4 and I'm going to multiply that by 1/2. So I wind up with A prime being 3, -2. So I can graph that. This is A prime. B, I'm going to take the 2, the x value of 2, and multiply it by my scale factor of 1/2. I'm going to take my y value of -8 and multiply it by my scale factor of 1/2. So I wind up with B prime being at 1, -4. Graphing that. Now I can just connect the 2 points together to create my segment. All right, and then number 8 for this one, I have a scale factor of -1/3. I can take the x and y values of D and E and just multiply it by my scale factor because we're doing a dilation from the origin. So for D, I would take 3 and I'd multiply it by -1/3, and I'd take 9 and I'd multiply it by -1/3. And so D prime, I would wind up at -1, -3. And then E, x value of 9, I'm going to multiply that by -1/3. Then my y value of 3, I'm going to multiply that by -1/3 to get E prime, which is just -3, -1. And then I can connect my 2 points together. Now, essentially what happens when we're doing a negative rotation, a negative dilation, is we actually first are doing a rotation of 180 degrees. and then doing the dilation after that. And the dilation then would be by 1/3 instead of negative 1/3. The negative actually is what is the 180-degree rotation. That's technically what's going on behind the scenes when we do a dilation that's by a scale factor of a negative. You may want to know, or you may need to know this, so make sure that you do. But that's exactly what's happening. Okay. So number 9, all of these we're doing around the, or with the center of dilation at the origin. So all we need to do is we need to multiply. So for letter A, I would multiply both the -3/2 and the 5/2. So I get a -610. For letter B, I multiply the 2 by the 5 and the 8 by the 5. So I wind up with 1040 after that dilation. For the next one, I multiply my x and y value by my scale factor of 1/3 to get my dilation. So I wind up with a 2/8. For my next one, again, same thing. Multiply your x and y value by your scale factor. An 8 times a 1/8 is a 1, and an 8 times a 3/4 is a 24/4, which a 24 divided by 4 is a 6. Now E and F are different because this time we're going backwards. So we saw something like this in the last video, and I said to multiply by the reciprocal. Multiplying by the reciprocal is the same thing as just dividing by the scale factor. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to divide by my scale factor to get it backwards. So a 12 divided by a -2 gives me a -6. And a negative 10 divided by a -2 is a 5. The opposite of multiplication is division, so that's why it works when I'm going backwards, doing the opposite of what I would do in the first place. For letter F, sorry, we're not working backwards, I apologize. We're working forwards. So I'm gonna multiply x and y by my scale factor. A 2 times a 2.5 is a 5, and a -4 times a 2.5 is a -10. All right, that is the lesson for dilations when we're doing it about the origin. In the next video, we will be learning about what to do when it's not the origin, which we kind of already learned in number 6.